Maya had always loved the mountains. As a wildlife photographer, she spent most of her time in remote places, capturing moments that most people would never see. Today was supposed to be like any other day, hiking through the dense forest trails of the Pacific Northwest, looking for rare birds to photograph for her upcoming Nature magazine feature. The morning had started perfectly: clear blue skies, gentle breeze, and the forest was alive with sounds. Maya had already captured some beautiful shots of a red-tailed hawk and was hoping to spot the elusive spotted owl that locals claimed lived somewhere in these woods. Her camera bag was heavy on her shoulders, but she didn't mind. This was what she lived for. But nature had other plans. Around 3 in the afternoon, the sky began to change. What started as a few scattered clouds quickly turned into something much more serious. The temperature dropped suddenly, and Maya could feel the electricity in the air. She had been hiking for over 6 hours and was still 2 miles away from her car when the first drops of rain began to fall. Within minutes, those gentle drops turned into a downpour. The rain came down so hard that Maya could barely see 10 feet in front of her. Lightning began flashing across the sky, followed by thunder that seemed to shake the very ground beneath her feet. She quickly covered her expensive camera equipment with a waterproof cover, but she was getting soaked to the bone. The trail had become slippery and dangerous. Maya knew she needed to find shelter fast. She looked around desperately, trying to spot any place where she could wait out the storm. The trees offered little protection from this kind of rain, and she was starting to shiver from the cold. That's when she noticed something unusual up ahead. About 50 feet up a rocky slope, she could see what looked like a dark opening in the rock face. It wasn't much, but it looked like it might be a cave or at least a deep overhang that could provide some protection from the storm. Maya carefully made her way up the slippery rocks, using tree roots and small ledges to pull herself up. Her hiking boots struggled to find grip on the wet stone, but she was determined. The thunder was getting louder, and she could see lightning striking somewhere not too far away. Finally, she reached the opening. It was indeed a cave, and it looked like it went back quite a bit into the mountain. Maya squeezed through the entrance, grateful to be out of the rain at last. She set her camera bag down carefully and tried to wring out her soaked jacket. The cave was dark, but not completely black. As her eyes began to adjust, Maya noticed something strange. There seemed to be a faint glow coming from somewhere deeper in the cave. It wasn't the warm yellow glow of sunlight or even the harsh white of electric light. This was different, a soft blue-green color that seemed to pulse gently. At first, Maya thought it might be some kind of mineral in the rock that was reflecting light from outside, but as she looked more carefully, she realized the glow was coming from much deeper in the cave than any outside light could reach. Her curiosity got the better of her. Maya pulled out her small flashlight and began to walk deeper into the cave. The passage was narrow at first, but after about 20 feet, it opened up into a larger chamber. The blue-green glow was much stronger here, and Maya could see that it was coming from something on the far side of the chamber. As she moved closer, Maya's heart began to beat faster. There, huddled against the back wall of the cave, were 2 figures. They were clearly not animals, but they definitely weren't human either. The larger figure appeared to be holding the smaller one protectively. They both had an almost human shape, but their proportions were all wrong. Their limbs were longer and thinner than any humans, and their heads seemed larger in comparison to their bodies. Even in the dim light, Maya could see that their skin had an unusual pale, almost translucent quality. Maya froze. Her mind was racing, trying to process what she was seeing. These beings looked weak and fragile. The larger one, who Maya assumed was the mother based on the protective posture, seemed to be barely conscious. The smaller figure, clearly a child, was curled up and completely still. For a moment, Maya considered turning around and leaving. This was beyond anything she had ever experienced or even imagined. But as she watched, she saw the mother figure lift her head slightly and look directly at her. The eyes were the most striking feature. They were much larger than human eyes, completely black, and seemed to hold an intelligence that was unmistakably aware. But more than that, Maya could see something in those eyes that she recognized immediately: desperation and fear, but also a plea for help. Maya realized that these beings, whatever they were in serious trouble. They looked starved and exhausted, like they had been trapped in this cave for a very long time. The mother was clearly trying to protect her child, but both of them seemed to be at the end of their strength. Despite her fear and confusion, Maya felt her natural compassion take over. She had always been someone who helped injured animals, and something about these beings triggered that same instinct. They weren't threatening her. They were asking for help. Maya slowly reached into her backpack and pulled out her water bottle. She held it up so the mother could see it, then carefully approached. The mother figure tensed at first, but when Maya made no threatening moves and offered the water, she seemed to understand. With shaking hands that looked almost human, but were somehow different, the mother took the water bottle and began to drink desperately. Maya watched as some color seemed to return to the pale features, and the large, dark eyes became more alert and focused. That's when Maya realized that this chance encounter in a cave, while seeking shelter from a storm, was about to change her life forever. She was no longer just a wildlife photographer documenting nature. She had stumbled upon something that would challenge everything she thought she knew about life on Earth. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside the cave, Maya was beginning the most extraordinary adventure of her life. Maya sat quietly for several minutes, watching as the mother slowly sipped the water. The child hadn't moved yet, and Maya was starting to worry. She could see the small chest rising and falling, so at least the little one was breathing, but something was clearly very wrong. The mother finished drinking and looked at Maya with those large, dark eyes. Maya had never seen anything like them before. They seemed to hold so much intelligence and emotion, but there was also something else, a kind of sadness that went deeper than anything Maya had ever witnessed. Maya pointed to herself and said softly, "Maya." She repeated it a few times, hoping the mother would understand that this was her name. The mother tilted her head slightly, as if thinking, then made a sound that was almost musical. It wasn't quite like human speech, but it had a rhythm to it that seemed intentional. Then something incredible happened. Maya suddenly had a thought in her head that didn't feel like her own thought. It was more like a memory, but not her memory. She saw images of a small craft flying through space, then being caught in a terrible storm with lightning and wind. She watched as the craft crashed into the forest, breaking apart on impact. Maya gasped and looked at the mother, who was still watching her intently. Had these images come from her? Maya had heard about telepathy before, but she never believed it was real. Yet somehow, this being had just shared her memories directly with Maya's mind. More images came. Maya saw the mother and child crawling out of the wreckage of their ship, both injured and scared. She felt their confusion as they tried to find shelter in this strange world. The crash had happened during a storm much like the one raging outside now, about 3 weeks ago. Maya understood now why they looked so weak. They had been surviving in this cave for 3 weeks with almost nothing to eat or drink. The mother had been catching small insects and collecting water droplets from the cave walls, but it wasn't nearly enough to keep them healthy. The child stirred slightly, and Maya got her first good look at the little one. The features were similar to the mother's. The same pale, almost glowing skin, the same large, dark eyes, though they were currently closed. But Maya could see that this was definitely a child, probably equivalent to a human 7- or 8-year-old. Maya felt her heart break a little. This mother had been trying to keep her child alive in impossible conditions, and both of them were clearly suffering. Maya reached into her backpack and pulled out some trail mix and an energy bar. She offered them to the mother, who looked at them curiously. The mother took a small piece of the trail mix and tasted it carefully. Her face scrunched up slightly. Apparently it didn't taste very good to her, but she ate it anyway. Maya realized that their bodies probably needed different kinds of food than humans did. Then Maya had another thought that wasn't her own. This time, she saw images of their home planet. It was beautiful, with purple skies and silver trees that seemed to glow with their own light. The beings there ate something that looked like small, glowing fruits that grew on these trees. Maya also saw that they absorbed certain minerals directly, through their skin from the soil of their planet. Maya understood. These beings needed different nutrients than humans, and they couldn't get what they needed from regular Earth food. No wonder they were getting weaker every day. The mother seemed to sense Maya's understanding. She gestured weakly toward her child, and Maya felt a wave of desperate love and worry wash over her. The mother was showing Maya that the child was much sicker than she was. The little one needed help soon, or something terrible might happen. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. These weren't monsters or invaders. They were just a mother and child who had gotten lost and were trying to survive in a place that was completely foreign to them. The mother's love for her child was exactly the same as any human mother's love would be. Maya tried to communicate back. She put her hand over her heart and then gestured toward both of them, hoping to show that she wanted to help. The mother seemed to understand, because Maya suddenly felt a wave of gratitude and hope. Over the next hour, Maya learned more about their situation. The images and feelings came in waves, sometimes clear and sometimes confusing. Their ship had been on some kind of research mission, studying different planets and the life forms on them. They weren't trying to hurt anyone or take anything. They were more like scientists, learning about the universe. The crash had damaged their communication system, so they couldn't call for help from their own people. The mother had been trying to fix it, but she didn't have the right tools or materials. She showed Maya images of the wreckage, hidden under fallen trees about half a mile from the cave. Maya realized that these beings were peaceful. Everything she sensed from the mother was gentle and kind. They had been exploring space to learn, not to conquer or harm, and now they were trapped on Earth, slowly dying because they couldn't get the nutrients they needed to survive. The storm outside was starting to calm down a little, but Maya had no intention of leaving now. She had stumbled upon the most important discovery in human history, and more importantly, she had found two beings who desperately needed her help. Maya pulled out her backup camera, the one that had stayed dry in her waterproof bag. She showed it to the mother, who looked at it curiously. Maya took a picture of the cave wall, then showed the mother the image on the camera's screen. The mother's eyes widened with understanding and what looked like amazement. Maya pointed to herself, then to the camera, then to both of them. She was trying to ask permission to document this incredible meeting. The mother looked at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. As Maya began to carefully photograph this historic moment, she realized that her life had just taken a turn that she never could have imagined. She was no longer just a nature photographer. She had become the first human to make peaceful contact with beings from another world. But more than that, she had become their protector. These beings were counting on her now, and Maya was determined not to let them down. Whatever it took, she was going to find a way to help them survive and maybe even get back home to their glowing purple world. By the time the storm finally stopped, Maya had made up her mind. She couldn't just walk away and leave these beings to die. The mother had shared so many images and feelings with her that Maya felt like she had known them for years, not just a few hours. The child was getting worse. Maya could see it in the way the little one's breathing had become more shallow, and in the growing panic she felt from the mother's thoughts. They needed help, and they needed it fast. Maya stood up and gathered her things. Through gestures and the strange mental connection they had developed, she tried to explain to the mother that she was going to get supplies. The mother looked terrified at first, probably thinking Maya was leaving them forever. But when Maya pointed to herself, then to her backpack, then back to them, the mother seemed to understand that Maya was coming back. The forest outside was completely different after the storm. Branches were scattered everywhere, and small streams had formed where there had been dry ground before. Maya's car was still 2 miles away, but she had camping supplies in her trunk that might help. More. Importantly, she needed to think about what these beings could actually eat. The hike back to her car took longer than usual because of all the storm damage, but Maya's mind was racing the entire time. She kept thinking about the images the mother had shown her, those glowing fruits from their home planet, and the way they absorbed minerals through their skin. Maya was no scientist, but she wondered if there might be something on Earth that could help them. When Maya reached her car, she quickly loaded her backpack with everything that might be useful. She had water purification tablets, a first aid kit, energy bars, dried fruits, and some camping equipment. But as she was packing, she remembered something from a biology class she had taken years ago. Mushrooms. Certain types of mushrooms grew in caves and had unique mineral content. Maya had seen some small mushrooms growing near the cave entrance. Maybe, just maybe, they might provide some of the nutrients these beings needed. Maya also grabbed a small camping shovel and some empty containers. If these beings could absorb minerals through their skin like the mother had shown her, maybe she could find mineral-rich soil or water that might help them. The hike back to the cave took almost 2 hours because Maya kept stopping to collect things along the way. She found a natural spring about halfway back and filled several containers with the clear, mineral-rich water. She also carefully collected different types of mushrooms and even some unusual moss that seemed to glow slightly in the dim forest light. When Maya finally made it back to the cave, she could hear the mother making soft, musical sounds. The child was awake now, but Maya could see immediately that the little one was very weak. Those large, dark eyes looked at Maya with curiosity, but there was a tiredness there that worried her. Maya unpacked everything she had brought and showed it to the mother. She started with the spring water, offering it in one of her camping cups. The mother tasted it carefully, and Maya felt a surge of hope and surprise through their mental connection. This water was better than what they had been drinking from the cave walls. Next, Maya offered some of the mushrooms she had collected. The mother examined them carefully, even smelling them. She took a tiny bite of one type and immediately her eyes widened. Maya felt excitement and relief flooding through their connection. These mushrooms contained something their bodies could actually use. The mother quickly but carefully fed small pieces of the mushroom to her child. Maya watched as some color seemed to return to the little one's pale features almost immediately. It wasn't a complete cure, but it was definitely helping. Over the next few hours, Maya watched as both beings became noticeably stronger. The mother was able to sit up straighter, and the child even managed to make some of those musical sounds that seemed to be their way of speaking. As they recovered a bit, the mother began sharing more detailed images with Maya. She showed Maya exactly where their ship had crashed and what the wreckage looked like. The communication device was damaged, but not completely destroyed. If they could get the right materials, it might be possible to fix it. Maya felt a chill of excitement and fear. If they could repair their communication system, these beings could contact their own people and arrange for rescue. But that also meant Maya would have to help them get to the crash site and figure out how to fix alien technology. The mother seemed to sense Maya's uncertainty. Through their mental connection, she showed Maya images of her own people, peaceful beings who studied the universe and helped other species when they could. She showed Maya that they had been watching Earth for many years, not to invade or harm, but to understand and learn. Maya realized that these beings knew far more about Earth than most humans knew about their own planet. They had been quietly studying human civilization, learning about the environment, and trying to understand how different species could live together in harmony. The child had fallen asleep again, but this time it looked like natural, peaceful sleep rather than the weak unconsciousness from before. The mother looked at Maya with those incredible dark eyes, and Maya felt a wave of gratitude so strong it almost brought tears to her eyes. But Maya also felt something else, a sense of responsibility. She was now the only person on Earth who knew about these beings. What she did next could determine whether this became a story of rescue and friendship or something much more tragic. Maya pulled out her camera and showed the mother the pictures she had taken earlier. Then she had an idea. She took a picture of herself with the mother and child, making sure to capture their faces clearly. If something happened to her, if she couldn't help them herself, at least there would be proof that this incredible meeting had taken place. The mother seemed to understand what Maya was thinking. She touched Maya's hand gently, and Maya felt a new image in her mind. The crashed ship, hidden under fallen trees, with its damaged communication system waiting to be repaired. Maya knew what she had to do. Tomorrow, she would help them try to contact their people. But tonight, she would stay here in the cave, making sure they had enough food and water and planning how to accomplish what seemed like an impossible task. As Maya settled down for the night, using her camping gear to stay warm, she looked at these two beings who had become so important to her in such a short time. She had started this day as a simple wildlife photographer, but now she was something completely different, maybe the most important human being on the planet. The responsibility was overwhelming, but Maya knew she couldn't let them down. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for tonight, at least, they were safe. Maya woke up the next morning to the sound of her phone buzzing. She had completely forgotten that she had promised to call her friend Rachel when she got back from her hiking trip. The missed calls and text messages kept coming, and Maya realized she was in serious trouble. The mother and child were doing much better after eating the mushrooms and drinking the mineral water. The little one was even sitting up and looking around with curious eyes. But Maya's relief was quickly replaced by panic as she read her messages. Rachel had called the park rangers when Maya didn't return or answer her phone. A search team was already being organized to look for her. Maya's mind raced as she tried to figure out what to do. She couldn't let anyone find the cave and discover these beings, but she also couldn't just disappear without causing a massive search operation. Maya showed her phone to the mother, trying to explain the situation through gestures and their mental connection. The mother seemed to understand immediately, and Maya felt waves of concern and fear coming from her. The mother showed Maya new images, memories of what had happened to her people when they had accidentally been discovered by other species on different planets. Some species had reacted with fear and violence. Others had tried to capture and study them like animals in a laboratory. Even the well-meaning species had caused problems by revealing their existence to governments and military forces who saw them as either threats or opportunities for weapons development. Maya understood now why the mother was so frightened. If the wrong people found out about them, these peaceful beings could face terrible consequences. Maya realized that she wasn't just responsible for keeping them alive anymore. She was responsible for protecting their secret. Maya quickly sent a text message to Rachel saying that she had gotten lost in the storm but was fine and making her way back. She said her phone had been damaged and she might be out of contact for another day or two. It wasn't exactly a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. The mother watched Maya send the message, and Maya could feel her gratitude through their connection. But Maya also felt something else. The mother was sharing more information about why they were here on Earth in the first place. Through a series of vivid images, Maya learned that the being species had been watching Earth for many decades. They weren't spying or planning anything harmful. Instead, they were deeply concerned about what was happening to Earth's environment and wanted to help. The mother showed Maya images of their home planet before and after their own environmental crisis thousands of years ago. They had learned how to heal their world and live in harmony with nature, and they wanted to share that knowledge with humanity. But they knew that most humans weren't ready to accept help from beings from another world. Maya saw images of small groups of these beings working secretly around Earth, studying pollution levels, helping to restore damaged ecosystems, and even guiding certain human scientists toward discoveries that could help save the planet. They had been trying to help humanity without revealing themselves, but their ship had crashed during a routine research mission. Maya felt overwhelmed by the weight of this information. These beings weren't just innocent victims who needed rescue. They were potentially the key to solving some of Earth's biggest problems. But they could only help if they remained secret and safe. The sound of voices in the distance made Maya's heart stop. The search team was getting closer to the cave area. Maya quickly grabbed her camera equipment and tried to make it look like she had just been taking shelter from the storm. She gestured frantically to the mother and child, showing them that they needed to move deeper into the cave and stay completely quiet. Maya crawled toward the cave entrance and could see two park rangers making their way up the rocky slope. Her mind was racing, trying to come up with a believable story. She couldn't let them search the cave, but she also couldn't act. Too suspicious, or they would definitely investigate further. Maya climbed out of the cave and waved to the rangers, trying to look relieved to see them. She told them she had gotten caught in the storm and taken shelter in the cave. She showed them some of her camera equipment that had gotten wet, making her story seem more believable. The rangers were kind and professional, but Maya could tell they wanted to check the cave to make sure no one else was in there. Maya's heart was pounding as she tried to think of ways to prevent them from going inside without seeming suspicious. That's when Maya had an idea. She started acting worried about her expensive camera equipment and asked the rangers to help her check if any of it was seriously damaged. She unpacked everything right there at the cave entrance, creating enough activity and distraction that the rangers focused on helping her rather than exploring the cave. After about 20 minutes, the rangers were satisfied that Maya was safe and didn't need medical attention. They offered to escort her back to her car, but Maya insisted she was fine and wanted to pack up her equipment properly first. The rangers finally left, but not before giving Maya their contact information and making her promise to check in when she got home. Maya waited until she was absolutely sure the rangers were gone before going back into the cave. The mother and child had hidden so well that Maya almost couldn't find them at first. When they finally emerged from deep within the cave, Maya could feel their relief and gratitude. But Maya also felt their growing anxiety. The mother was showing her images of their damaged communication device again, and Maya understood that time was running out. The longer they stayed on Earth without being able to contact their people, the more dangerous their situation became. Maya realized they needed to try to repair the communication device as soon as possible. But that meant finding the crash site and working with technology that was completely beyond her understanding. Even worse, it meant taking an enormous risk. If anyone discovered them trying to repair an alien spacecraft, the consequences would be unimaginable. Maya looked at the mother and child, these beings who had trusted her with their lives and their secrets. She thought about everything they had shown her about their peaceful mission to help Earth and about the terrible things that could happen if they were discovered by the wrong people. Maya made her decision. She would help them repair their communication device, no matter how dangerous it might be. She would protect their secret, even if it meant lying to her friends and family, and she would do whatever it took to get them safely home to their purple world with its glowing trees. But first, they had to find that crashed ship and hope that Maya could somehow figure out how to fix technology that was more advanced than anything humans had ever created. As Maya prepared for what might be the most important and dangerous mission of her life, she realized there was no turning back now. The next morning, Maya and the mother began their journey to find the crashed ship. The child was much stronger now, but still too weak for the difficult hike through the forest. Maya had created a comfortable shelter for the little one in the deepest part of the cave, with plenty of the mushrooms and mineral water that had helped them recover. The mother was nervous about leaving her child, but she knew they had no choice. The communication device couldn't be repaired without her knowledge of their technology, and Maya couldn't find the crash site without the mother's guidance. Walking through the forest with an alien being felt surreal to Maya. The mother moved differently than humans, more gracefully, but also more carefully, as if she was still getting used to Earth's gravity. Maya found herself constantly amazed by how human-like yet completely different this being was. It took them almost 3 hours to find the crash site. The mother had done an incredible job of hiding the wreckage after the accident. Fallen trees and branches had been carefully arranged to make everything look natural. But when they moved the camouflage aside, Maya got her first look at technology from another world. The ship was smaller than Maya had expected, about the size of a large car, but its design was unlike anything she had ever seen. The metal seemed to shift colors in the sunlight, and even though it was clearly damaged, Maya could see that it had once been beautiful. The mother led Maya to a panel on the side of the ship that had been partially crushed in the crash. Inside, Maya could see what looked like the communication device. It was a collection of crystals and metal components that seemed to pulse with their own inner light, but many of the crystals were cracked or completely shattered. Maya felt completely out of her depth. She was a photographer, not an engineer. How was she supposed to help repair something that was built with technology, thousands of years more advanced than anything on Earth? But then the mother did something amazing. She placed her hands on Maya's shoulders, and suddenly Maya's mind was flooded with knowledge. Not human knowledge, but an understanding of how their technology worked. Maya could suddenly see how the crystals stored and transmitted energy, how the metal components focused and directed that energy across vast distances of space. It was overwhelming at first, but gradually Maya began to understand what needed to be done. Some of the crystals could be repaired by carefully realigning their internal structure. Others needed to be replaced. But the mother showed Maya that certain earth minerals could work as temporary substitutes. Maya remembered the mineral-rich soil she had collected near the spring. Working together, she and the mother spent hours carefully extracting and purifying the minerals they needed. Maya's photography equipment turned out to be surprisingly useful. The small tools she used to clean her camera lenses were perfect for the delicate work of crystal repair. As the day wore on, Maya found herself actually understanding more and more of the alien technology. It wasn't really that different from Earth electronics, just far more advanced and elegant. The mother was an excellent teacher, sharing knowledge through their mental connection while guiding Maya's hands through the complex repairs. By late afternoon, they had replaced 3 shattered crystals and realigned several others. The mother activated the device, and Maya watched in amazement as the crystals began to glow with that same blue-green light she had first seen in the cave. But the real miracle happened when the device suddenly came to life with musical tones that Maya now recognized as the aliens' language. The mother's eyes filled with tears as she heard voices from her home world for the first time in weeks. Maya watched as the mother had what was clearly an emotional conversation with her people. Even though Maya couldn't understand the musical language, she could feel the relief, joy, and love flowing through their mental connection. The mother was telling her people about the crash, about her child's condition, and about the human who had saved their lives. Then something unexpected happened. The mother handed the communication device to Maya and gestured for her to speak. Maya suddenly realized that she was about to become the first human in history to have a conversation with beings from another world. Through the mother's translation, Maya found herself talking to what seemed like a council of elders from the alien world. They thanked her for saving their people and asked her many questions about Earth and humanity. Maya tried to explain that not all humans would react kindly to discovering alien visitors, but that many humans were good people who would want to help if they knew the truth. The conversation lasted for over an hour, and by the end, Maya had been offered something incredible. The aliens wanted to make her an official liaison between their people and humanity. They would give her technology to communicate with them any time, and she could help them continue their secret mission to help Earth's environment while also helping to prepare humanity for eventual open contact. Maya felt the weight of this decision. Accepting would mean living with an enormous secret for the rest of her life. It would mean sometimes lying to people she cared about and taking on responsibilities that no human had ever faced before. But when Maya looked at the mother and thought about the child waiting for them back in the cave, she knew what her answer had to be. These beings had shown her nothing but kindness, wisdom, and a genuine desire to help. Maya couldn't turn her back on them now. 3 days later, Maya was back in her normal life, but everything had changed. She had helped the mother and child meet their rescue ship at a predetermined location deep in the forest. The reunion had been beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. Maya had grown to love these beings like family, and saying goodbye was incredibly difficult. But it wasn't really goodbye. Hidden in Maya's camera bag was a small crystal device that allowed her to communicate with the aliens anytime she wanted. She also had coordinates for secret meeting locations where she could help other alien research teams who might need assistance. Maya's photography work took on new meaning now. She traveled to remote locations not just to capture beautiful images, but to document environmental damage and recovery for her alien friends. Her pictures were helping beings from another world understand Earth's problems and find ways to help solve them. 6 months after that stormy day when she first sought shelter in the cave, Maya was preparing for another photography trip. But this time, she was actually going to help establish a new research station where the aliens could study ocean pollution without being detected. As Maya packed her equipment, she thought about how much her life had changed. She had started as someone who loved nature and wanted to capture its beauty. Now she was someone who was actively working to save the planet, guided by wisdom from across the stars. Maya smiled as she felt a familiar presence in her mind. The mother was checking in, sharing images of her child who was now completely healthy and thriving back on their home world. The little one had drawn a picture of Maya and wanted to show it to her. Maya realized that some storms don't just bring rain and lightning. Sometimes they bring the most amazing gifts imaginable. And sometimes, taking shelter from a storm can lead to the greatest adventure of your life.